Today the air feels different because for the first time in years, I'm taking back what was stolen. My parents may be gone, but I'm bringing them home in the only way I can, by reclaiming their name, their dignity, and what's rightfully ours. When my parents died, Mark wasted no time. He tore down my childhood home and stood smugly over the rubble. "Well, bring the inheritance here already," he said, like it was a grocery order. I stared at him, frozen. "What the hell are you saying, Mark? Have you lost your mind?" The absurdity hit me. I laughed. Sharp, bitter. Suddenly it all made sense. "What's so funny, don't you get it?" Mark demanded, as my in-laws exchanged confused glances. That was my cue. I decided it was time for the truth to cut through the nonsense. "My name's Laura Jackson, eldest daughter to two of the humblest, hardest-working office clerks you could meet. I grew up with a younger brother. Nothing fancy, just a regular, close-knit family. At 25, I married Mark. We had 2 children, Daniel and Emily. And like most mothers, I spent years walking a tightrope between career deadlines and school pickup times. In the blink of an eye, I turned 52. The children had grown into capable young adults, off building their own lives. It was nothing extraordinary, but it was enough. I was content. And finally, it seemed, Mark and I would have time for ourselves, for quiet mornings, for travel, for rest. But that fragile peace shattered one bitter winter morning. A call came. My mother, strong, kind woman, was gone. A car accident, sudden, senseless. She was 79 years old at that time. We could not believe she would pass away this way. Grief swallowed our family whole. My father stopped eating, barely spoke, and sat for hours staring into space, as if waiting for my mother to return. "Dad, please, I know it hurts, but you need to eat," I begged, over and over, voice cracking. "I know, honey, but nothing tastes right, feels like a stone's lodged in my chest," he whispered, eyes hollow. My brother and I assumed it was grief, nothing more. So we watched and waited. But we were wrong. Within 3 weeks, his body shrank alarmingly. Like he was disappearing before our eyes, alarm bells ringing, I rushed him to the hospital, my hands clammy on the steering wheel. The doctor looked grim. The verdict hit like a hammer. Cancer. The word seemed to echo endlessly. It was advanced. Surgery was off the table. No miracles left. "Maybe a year," the doctor said, not unkindly. I had just started dreaming of leisurely breakfast with my parents, of weekend visits. And now, there would be no time. Losing my mother by an accident was a wound, but watching my father fade day by day, that was torture. But I can't keep grieving like that. My brother lived across the country. Visits were rare. The weight of care fell squarely on me. I told Mark my plan. I'd move in with Dad to care for him, leaving him alone? Unthinkable. He needed me, heart, body, soul. But Mark's reaction wasn't just disappointing. It was a slap in the face. "We just buried your mother, and now I'm expected to revolve my life around your father too," he snapped, rubbing his temples like I was a burden. "Do you have to put it like that? All I'm asking is a ride to the hospital. Does it really threaten you so much to help?" I pushed back. "He's grieving, Mark. If it's too much, I'll stay at Dad's place temporarily. Is that so unreasonable?" Mark's voice rose, incredulous. "Who's going to feed me? Take care of this house? Huh? Ever think of that?" "I'll come back and cook, I always do," I said, holding back frustration. "And what about cleaning? Laundry? You think that'll do itself?" he snapped. I stared at him, stunned. Was this really the man I had built a life with? I wanted to do it all, but reality had other plans. Realizing how little my pain mattered to him hit harder than I expected. If caring for my dying father made me selfish, then maybe I was. but I refused to feel guilty for it. My father would probably smile and say, "Don't worry about me." But I couldn't let him fade away like that, not after everything. "Fine," Mark finally muttered, "but don't expect me to lift a finger. This is your mess." The arrogance in his voice made my stomach churn, but I nodded. He agreed, barely. "Thank you, and I'm sorry," I managed, swallowing my pride. As much as I hated his attitude, he'd given me what mattered. His reluctant consent, I swallowed every protest burning in my throat, because right now, my dad came first. And so, burdened with resentment and exhaustion, Mark and I moved into my childhood home. Before, we'd lived in company housing, courtesy of Mark's employer. Mark was an only child, spoiled and coddled. His father insisted we live near them, and Mark never questioned it. We never talked about owning something of our own. The plan was always to move in with his parents eventually, as if my own roots, my family, my wishes were irrelevant. Company housing was convenient, yes, and the rent was low, but comfort had come at the cost of identity. Now, in my family's old home, we had more space, no rent, and for many years I felt like I was myself. Mark didn't complain much. In fact, I think he enjoyed this house, especially since he wasn't lifting a finger to help. True to his word, Mark didn't help with anything. Still, having my father close was worth every ounce of the struggle. He put on a brave face, but fatigue pulled him down often, confining her to bed for hours. I became his shadow, cooking, feeding, tracking pills, one task bleeding into the next. Alone, he wouldn't have stood a chance. Thank you, Laura. I don't know what I'd do without you. Mark's done so much as well. I must thank him properly, my father said, expressing her gratitude many times. He had no idea that Mark had called him dead weight just days ago. Gratitude misplaced, but sincere. One evening, after my father had turned in, I broached his treatment while placing dinner on the table. Mark shot me a withering glare. "I've told you? Don't drag me into this. I'm not helping, period." He wouldn't even let me finish. I was stunned. All I needed was for Mark to listen for once. Just once. Months passed. But Mark's disdain only grew louder, more shameless. Every sigh, every sneer was a reminder. He acted like housing his own family was charity work. But I couldn't say anything against it. Juggling Dad's care and Mark's ego, the stress coiled tighter around my chest. As the 1-year mark loomed, Dad's health plummeted. The hospital became our second home. 5 days. That's all it took for his light to go out. I thought I was ready. I wasn't. Grief hit like a tidal wave. My brother's family, my kids. They rushed in, became my pillars when my knees gave out. But in times like this, you really want your spouse by your side. Mark lounged in a corner, laughing with his parents, oblivious to the chaos of funeral prep. My brother stepped up, shouldering the burden Mark wouldn't touch. Somehow, we managed. Mark, who should have been beside me in the family row, chose the furthest seat he could find. "Mark, you should be sitting up front with the family," I told him firmly. He shrugged, dismissive. "Nah, this spot's fine. Not like I'm blood, right?" "But you're my husband," I pressed, voice cracking slightly. His mother's words cut sharper than knives. "He's your husband, not your father's son. Mark belongs with us. Laura should sit with her family." Their words sucker punched me. I had no response, just a hollow ache. Where I'm from, it's basic respect. Sons-in-law sit with family at funerals. Mark's absence sparked whispers. Relatives murmuring, casting sideways glances. If we'd been divorced, I'd understand the gossip. But this was avoidable. All he had to do was sit down. His absence stung. But somehow, we gave Dad a dignified farewell. Afterward, everyone gathered back at my family home, tension lingering in the air. Thank you for coming, even with your busy schedules, I said, handing tea with a forced smile. They chuckled, tone dripping with disdain. Quite a streak, isn't it? First your mother, now your father. These funeral costs aren't easy for us either. At least it's over now. Their words hit me like ice water. Did they really say that? Disbelief warred with rising anger. I forced my lips into a smile and escaped before the dam burst. That's when Mark's voice drifted over. Low, smug, venomous. You've had it rough, son. Living with strangers like that. His mother cooed. Yeah, Laura's whims were exhausting. A man's not supposed to be at his wife's beck and call. You don't like something, you say no, simple. My fists curled tight. Their laughter grated against my bones. But this was nothing new, just salt on wounds that never healed. Mark's parents had a talent for cruelty, dressed up as honesty. On our wedding day, his mother sneered, "Couldn't you aim higher? Guess I shouldn't expect pretty grandchildren." His father had chuckled. They say beauty fades fast. With Laura, you won't get that problem. And Mark? He laughed right along with them. Looking back, not once had Mark or his parents offered a single word of comfort. Not for Mom's funeral, not now. Instead, they mocked. Every time, I used to feel guilty for burdening Mark. Now I questioned if he even had a conscience. I had bent over backwards for Mark, when all I wanted was to honor my father. That guilt? Misplaced, Mark never earned it. As fury bubbled inside me, their laughter echoed louder. Oblivious, had my brother or kids overheard, there would have been fireworks. Thankfully, they were in the kitchen. A bitter relief washed over me. At least only I heard their poison. Then came her voice, syrupy sweet. "Laura," she sang. "Yes?" I answered, caught off guard. "Mind if I keep this?" she asked, waving my father's ring like a prize. My words stumbled. Well, your father won't be needing this anymore, right? Mark said I could take it. Might as well keep it," she added, inspecting it like second-hand loot. The audacity stunned me. Fresh from my father's funeral, and she dared? I snatched the ring back, my voice cold as steel. "No, you can't." Her face twisted, not over a ring, but because I, the daughter-in-law she'd always belittled, finally pushed back. But I held my ground, steady, unflinching. "We're not ready to go through his things yet. The family will decide when it's time." Her face flushed, voice rising. "What are you implying? That I'm a stranger here?" "At the funeral, you said even Mark was an outsider to my father." "Funny, Mark's an outsider, but you're not." I shot back. That hit home. Mark and his father flushed, caught in their own words. "Apologize. How dare you speak to Mom like that? You're out of line." Mark barked. Their shouting pulled everyone from the other room, tension crackling. I didn't expect to be called an outsider after all the effort we put into attending the funeral. "Let's go home, Dad." My mother-in-law shouted at me in front of everyone and stormed out of our house. Mark, predictably, followed in their wake, face twisted with faux indignation. "What's going on? Did you really call her an outsider?" The whispers came quick. Out of context, it painted me as cruel. But context matters. I laid out the truth, calmly, and not a single accusation came my way. "Grandma and Grandpa never think about others. Dad's the same. It's always been like this," my kid said, standing with me. But forgiveness? That was still far from my heart. Mark stayed away. I didn't reach out. Silence stretched between us like a canyon. I saw no reason to apologize. And even if he did grovel, could I really forgive him? Still, this stalemate couldn't last forever. Sooner or later, something had to give. Then, out of the blue, Mark walked through the door as if nothing had happened. "Welcome home," I said, forcing the words past the burn of old anger. "Rough times, huh?" he muttered, awkward in his attempt at concern. I blinked, thrown off balance. Why don't you take the kids on a trip? Get some fresh air, he said, sliding travel vouchers across the table. Words failed me. The weight of everything crashed down, and tears slipped free. Maybe the kids put him up to it. But the fact that Mark didn't object, it hit me. I called the kids right away, fingers trembling, heart lighter than it had been in months. Seriously? Dad suggested that? Wow, didn't see that coming, they said, voices tinged with disbelief. Against all odds, it looked like Mark had actually done something thoughtful. Do you think Dad feels guilty, even a little? They wondered aloud. Happened, huh? I echoed, a dry laugh escaping me. I took the vouchers, nodding. All right then, I'll go. Take your time, stay with the kids a while, no rush. He waved off. Really? I can't just disappear for weeks, I said, half joking. Don't worry about me, I'll crash at my folks. You deserve this, he said casually. And with that, Mark ushered me out, as if he couldn't wait to be rid of me. Emily lit up when I visited. Before the spa trip, I spent time at hers, then at Daniel's. I hadn't been able to visit while caring for Mom. So now I cooked, filled their freezers, a mother's way of loving. Mom, you're supposed to relax, but thank you. This is amazing, they said, smiling over home-cooked meals. Oddly enough, it was Mark's idea that made this possible. Then came the long-awaited spa trip, an escape I hadn't known how much I needed. In those warm springs with my children by my side, I finally exhaled the grief I'd held in for months, the exhaustion of caregiving, and the raw grief of losing my parents had finally begun to fade. After nearly a week away, my kids went home beaming, their smiles a balm to my heart. That was fun. Guess Dad earned a thank you. For once, they joked. Yeah, but just this once. Feels like there's a catch, though, Emily quipped, half laughing. Be nice. He tried in his own awkward way. I laughed, shaking my head. I came home ready to share memories, ready for a fresh start, but what greeted me stole my breath. What? Where's the house? The words barely left my lips. I stood frozen. The street was the same, but the house, my family's home, was gone, as if erased. And then, like vultures circling a carcass, Mark and his parents appeared. They stood there, grinning, reveling in my shock. Mark, what the hell is this? I demanded, though my voice wavered. Mark's smile twisted cruelly. Finally, no more dead weight. Mom and Dad are moving in with me, in my house, starting today. What are you even saying, Mark? Have you lost your damn mind? I shot back. The house is gone. Bring the inheritance to our place. Whatever you got, it's mine now, Mark declared, as if it was the most natural thing. In that moment, it clicked. Mark had orchestrated this, demolished my family's home for money. The betrayal was suffocating. On my way home, I had dreamed of fresh starts. Now all I felt was a cold, seething rage. This won't go his way, not if I have anything to say about it. I laughed, a sharp, biting laugh that made their smug faces falter. My laughter rattled them. Mark's grin twitched, his father's eyes narrowed. What's so funny? Have you lost your mind, you strange woman? My mother-in-law sneered, eyeing me like I was deranged. I straightened up, meeting their stares head-on. You really don't get it, do you? There's no inheritance, not a single cent. With that, I laughed harder, sharp, merciless. They'd built castles in the air, dreaming of riches that never existed. Their greed-fueled fantasies were so pathetic, it was almost comedic. What the hell does that mean? Explain, Laura, Mark snapped. I stayed silent. Let them stew in their own stupidity. First off, I'm not living with your parents. If you're so eager, be my guest. Alone. Ignoring Mark's demands, my refusal sent my mother-in-law into a red-faced rage. You bent over backwards for your parents but won't lift a finger for us. "Don't forget who agreed to live together, young lady," she shrieked. "I said no from the start. It was you who insisted on living together to dodge chores." "Don't twist it now," I fired back. "And demolishing my family's home? There are lines you don't cross, remember that," I said, turning on my heel. "Where do you think you're going?" Mark shouted after me. I didn't spare him a glance. Right now, I needed distance, and a bed far away from Mark's face. The next call was to a lawyer. "You don't just bulldoze a house not in your name. My mother's name was still on that deed." As I dug deeper, an ugly truth surfaced, one I hadn't imagined. Mark and his father had taken sledgehammers to my family's legacy with their own hands. His father, the demolition expert, roped in old buddies, even rented heavy machinery to get the job done. Every step was calculated. The travel vouchers? Just a convenient bribe to get me out of their way. The betrayal hit like a gut punch. Tears stung, but beneath them, fury boiled. "Is there a way to make them pay? All three of them?" I asked, voice shaking but determined. My lawyer smiled, but his eyes sharpened. "Mark demolished property that wasn't his. That's criminal destruction. We'll hit him with damages and start with a public apology demand." I nodded. Game on. My lawyer moved swiftly. Days later, Mark called, voice boiling. "What the hell is this certified letter?" He barked. "Ah, you got it. You smashed my family's house. So of course you have to compensate, Mark." "Compensate?" "We said we were moving to my parents' place. I demolished a house that nobody was going to live in. You should be thanking me, not asking for compensation. Now bring the inheritance and come back here," he said arrogantly. "Thank you? For wrecking my home? You're delusional. And what inheritance? Nothing's even finalized yet," I shouted back. Mark went quiet. He wasn't used to this version of me. The day they demolished my house, I laughed because I had already won. A year with my mother was worth more than any brick. When inheritance talks came, I told my brother to keep it all. I didn't want a penny, so he inherited every cent, cash, stocks, everything. He insisted I take the house. He lived too far to manage it. If I didn't want to live there, we'd rent it. Simple, clean plan. You and your father have two choices. Rebuild the house exactly as it was, or pay every cent listed in that letter, I said, voice cold. I tried to be civil, but fine. You refuse to pay? Then I'll let the police handle it, and the court, I stated. I'm sorry, I didn't think you'd be this upset, Mark stammered, scrambling for excuses. Of course I'm furious. What did you expect, a thank you card? I snapped. Mark's brilliant plan, erase my family home, dodge living with his own parents. His father had dreamed of us all living together, doting on Daniel like a trophy grandson. Mark had refused to live together before, citing difficult commutes. Of course, his parents blamed me, think I am the one who objected. So Mark schemed, demolish my house, spin a tale, make it look like I'd have no choice but to move in after hearing that. Forgiveness was off the table. Cut me some slack, Laura. It wasn't malicious. Dad's sorry too, Mark pleaded. If you're sorry, sign the settlement, or don't bother calling again. Click. Mark's text flooded in. Apologies, excuses, the usual spineless drivel. If you're truly sorry, wire the money. Otherwise, save your breath. The house was gone, but making him pay was the only justice left. I stayed with Emily, my safe haven, my brother's family, and my kids were in the loop. My brother, though seething, said simply, I won't meddle, but I'll back you however you need. Do what's right, Laura. Everyone saw Mark's true colors, and they stood with me. A month crawled by. Not a dime from Mark. Radio silence. Not a call. Not a text. I couldn't stay with Emily forever. I wanted to get the money as soon as possible to at least establish a living foundation, but fate had other plans. Emily stumbled upon it first. Mom, look at this. "Doesn't this look like Grandma's apron?" she said, holding up her phone. My stomach dropped when I saw the screen. There it was, a listing on a flea market app. The apron wasn't just similar. I had sewn every stitch of it for Mom. "That's Grandma's, I made that, I know every thread," I said, voice rising. Emily's fingers flew as she scrolled through more listings. New account, 0 reviews, suspicious as hell, nearly 50 items, every single one my parents' belongings. Only one person had access after the demolition. Mark. Who else would stoop this low? Of course, it was him. My hands shook as I dialed. Time to confront him. "Care to explain this app listing, Mark?" I asked, voice sharp. "App? What app?" he snapped, irritation bubbling. "Don't insult my intelligence. You're selling Mom's things. Take it down. Now." Mark's tone wobbled. What? That wasn't me. Who else would stoop this low? "I'm on my way. Get ready," I said, ending the call. Emily and I were out the door in seconds, fury propelling us forward. "Where are my parents' belongings, Mark?" I demanded, blocking the doorway. I don't know what you're talking about," he stammered, sweat beading. "Tell the truth, Dad," Emily said, voice steady. Mark's facade cracked. Mark's parents noticed us and came waddling out, all smiles. "Oh, Emily, sweetheart, you're here," his mother cooed, pretending nothing was wrong. Emily's voice cut through. "Grandma, tell Dad to admit it, about great-grandma's and great-grandpa's things." "Dad's been selling them. We saw the listings," she added. Mark's mother laughed. Light, dismissive, cruel. Mark stammered. "It wasn't me, really, I swear." "Mark? Selling them? Don't be ridiculous. That's my little project," she announced proudly. My blood chilled. Of course Mark knew. His face said it all. Mark shot his mother a look that screamed, "You're making it worse." Emily's shock meant nothing. His mother kept chirping, "It's a lot of work, you know. Packing, taking nice photos. Keeps me busy," she babbled. Oblivious, she prattled on, like fencing stolen goods was a cute hobby. It took everything in me not to lunge across that porch. "Take them down. Those are not yours things," Emily's voice cracked, trembling with rage. But Mark's mother frowned, annoyed at being inconvenienced. "What's the fuss? I found a hobby, some extra cash. Keeps my mind sharp, Emily. Don't you want your only grandma to stay healthy and live long?" she said, utterly shameless. Words were useless. She didn't have a shred of shame. If words fail, it's time for consequences. "Emily, we're done here. Let's go." "But Mom, that's enough. Let's go, Emily." I took her hand, and we headed straight to the police. Demolishing my home was one thing. Stealing and selling my parents' keepsakes? That crossed a line. When I explained to the police that my parents' belongings were being stolen and sold, they acted immediately. Mark's mother's account on the flea market app was suspended. The listings were wiped clean. No more sales. On the ride back, I called Mark. "Time to finish this." "Her account's suspended. You knew. That makes you complicit, Mark." No, he stammered. "I filed the report. You'll want to cooperate. Trust me." Mark's panic was palpable. "What? We're family, Laura. Don't do this. Withdraw it," he begged. "Family? You've paid nothing. No house compensation. No alimony. Not even an apology." My words hit him harder than I expected. Mark reeled. A small part of me remembered the years we shared, but pity has its limits. I exhaled. "I'll wait for my money, but the theft? Unforgivable. Return it all, and Mark? Your father looks ill? Seen a doctor?" "What?" He blinked, caught off guard. "I'm not heartless, just passing it along." Click. His father had looked frail, gaunt, barely said a word. His skin wasn't pale. It was sickly gray, almost bruised. His decline was obvious, but they were too wrapped up in their schemes to care. His wife, too busy peddling stolen goods, Mark, all bark, no spine. Empathy wasn't in their vocabulary. The next day, Mark's father called. I expected a thank you. I should have known better. Instead, he came out swinging. You think I'm some invalid? Trying to shove me into a hospital to get rid of me? I need to protect my family from you. I'm not going anywhere, he barked. I blinked. Concern was met with venom. Typical. Didn't mean to overstep. Just worried, I said, keeping it civil. Unlike your weak, short-lived parents, I'm not going anywhere. Don't mock me, he sneered. His words lit a fire in me. But karma works fast. A few days later, off to the hospital he went. Diagnosis? Terminal cancer, Mark called, voice laced with panic. Dad's got terminal cancer. Laura, what do I do? I couldn't help but snort. I don't know, Mark. What did he say when I suggested hospital? Mark finished, voice shrinking. Not frail or short-lived like my parents, right? This one's on you, Mark. How can you be this cruel, Laura? I never thought you'd stoop so low. Did you ever once show kindness when my mother was sick? Think about that, I said, then hung up. As expected, Mark's father passed shortly after. Out of basic decency, I tried not to hold grudges against the dead, but remembering his words, his actions, I couldn't summon a single tear. After the funeral, his will surfaced. For someone so sure of his longevity, he'd planned for the inevitable. The house goes to my grandson, Daniel, remaining assets to be split between my wife and son. Daniel's name stunned me. Mark's father always played favorites. His dream? Living under the same roof with his golden boy. He probably thought gifting the house to Daniel would keep his legacy breathing. It's a hassle, Daniel. You should walk away. You don't need that house, I advised. But Daniel smiled. He wanted it. Inheritance tax made it more trouble than treasure. Still, if it made him happy, who was I to interfere? Per the will, Daniel became the owner. Grandma gleefully paid the taxes. He's the rightful heir after all, she chirped. She wasn't wrong, but it stung, as if Daniel had been pulled away from me. Then the tables turned. Hard, Mark called, urgency dripping from his voice. I went. When I arrived, Mark and his mother stood frozen, faces pale, just like I had once been. The property swarmed with demolition crews, bulldozers, trucks. The whole brigade, brick by brick, their house was coming down. What the hell is happening? It's my house now, I get to decide, Daniel said, smirking as the walls crumbled. Daniel, stop this madness, Mark shouted, voice cracking. Stopping now won't uncollapse what's already broken, Daniel shot back. What have you done? They begged, voices desperate. Daniel laughed, cold, measured. Grandpa destroyed Mom's home, Dad helped, and you, Grandma, don't act innocent. Ever apologize to Mom? Daniel's grin vanished. What replaced it was a glare sharp enough to cut. They collapsed to their knees, helpless, as their house was reduced to rubble. Watching it all, a weight lifted off my chest. Eventually, Mark paid up. Damages, compensation, all from what little inheritance remained. Daniel retrieved every stolen item, returning them to me with care. You've always got me and Emily, Mom, Daniel said, and for the first time, I let the tears fall. Mark and his mother, homeless and broke, crawled back to company housing. Once, Mark and I left that place together. Now he returned, this time as gossip fodder. I shared the full story with an old friend. Mark's colleague's wife. Word spreads fast. Life in that cramped housing wouldn't be kind to them. But they had made their bed. After Mark retires, they'll be pinching pennies for a roof over their heads. Sometimes, I'm tempted to ask how they're doing, if only for idle chatter. Meanwhile, I stayed with Emily. Peaceful days returned, then came happy news. Daniel's engagement. Daniel had plans for a new home, his own foundation. The old family land sold for a good price. In the end, Even that house had its purpose. "Come live with us, Mom," Daniel said. His fiancée welcomed me like family. I couldn't impose on Emily forever. Daniel's offer felt right. I'm ready for a fresh chapter. With my new family, one thing's for sure. I'll never be that kind of mother-in-law